ITNation Connect 2024 was last week. It's the Monday after. Huge success. Largest MSP event of the year. So many new announcements. So many new exciting things going on. We had a great time. We had Podcasters Row for the first time ever at an MSP event, by the way, not just IT Nation, where we had 9 podcasters set up in their own area, in a high traffic area, just having conversations with attendees, MSPs, with vendors, with ConnectWise staff. Just a wonderful event. Ushering the new CEO, Manny Ravello, as Jason McGee exits, and lots of great new product announcements. I personally had a speaking session there as well, which was a great success. How to help MSPs in sales and marketing with podcasting. There was great after parties with Universal and Stone Temple Pilots, and Tony Hawk spoke, and it was an incredible event. We recorded many conversations, and the following is one of the conversations, and they were all great. It was a high traffic area, so they might be a little noisy, but just a great event. I encourage everyone to consider going to it. Thanks so much for listening.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. I found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Tell me about Slovakia. I don't know anything about the country.
Oh my God.
I don't know anything.
Slovakia is, I would say, the most eastern part of Europe.
Really?
So it's right at the borders with Ukraine.
It does.
So we share a lot with like other Slavic cultures. So that is part of my job, is understanding like the psyche of threat actors from Eastern Europe. And it really helps if you know the culture. And
So having that foundation, being raised there, has encouraged this career in security?
yeah, definitely yes.
Wow. How so?
It's you just understand a lot of about the culture that if you are not local, it's really hard for you to get. So, for example, today I was actually talking at webinar about the cultural background and what it means. So I do a lot of education about ransomware, and there are some aspects of ransomware that, for example, like West people from the West really struggle to understand, and
Really?
they don't even know it exists. Yeah.
Can you give me an example?
So one good example is, for example, in Russia, you have conscription. Conscription is a big deal because imagine this: you go to university, you study IT, you are really good with technology, and then one day you will get mail telling you you are conscripted, and they give you 2 options. You can go to Ukraine to the front, or you can work for one of the agencies on offensive services, for example. You will get apartment, you will live in Moscow, you will get good salary.
Wow.
What are you going to choose? Yeah,
Obviously.
that's the first thing. The second thing that I found fascinating is what are they going to teach you in army? It's going to be logistics. How you plan operations. So you can easily end up with people that know the technology, learn how to organize operations. When they come back home, what are they going to do? They
Wow.
can find the next business in ransomware easily.
Incredible. Have you met some of the bad actors that have created ransomware?
Yes.
And so what's that like?
Well, I like to say there are like four So there are many different types of people involved in ransomware. Yeah. We have operators. Those are the people that just build the business and just kind of coordinate everything, build a platform. You have affiliates that are doing the actual hacking. Operators are almost exclusively based in Russia. Affiliates are from all over the globe. So very different personalities, very different motivation, very different way how they think, the risk they are taking with what they do. We have a lot of people that are part of this ecosystem but don't think about themselves as a criminals.
Wow.
So developers that are building just the web portal and nothing else, like they are part of ecosystem. They don't do malicious code, so they see themselves more like in gray area.
Wow. So there's just kind of hired programmers to do it, but to create a platform. But you tell me there's operators and affiliates. I mean, there's a whole hierarchy of these
Oh my
companies.
god! Yeah.
Really?
Well, then you have initial access brokers that are just buying and selling access to different companies. Again, you have different types of developers. You have pretty much for every single one of these groups. How are you going to do money laundering?
Wow.
So money, there is a huge amount of money mules that are. So it's a whole
Money
ecosystem.
mules.
Yeah.
Where it's all Bitcoin, right? It's can't obviously it's all going to be some kind of cryptocurrency that they're doing everything in, and so then there's mules that actually. And so, have you visited any of these sites?
No. We do have a team that is working with law enforcement.
Wow.
So we've been part of like the global takedown operations.
You have?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And what's involved there? You have to get local authorities involved. Does the government cooperate?
So there is, it involves typically multiple countries, multiple law enforcement agencies,
Wow.
and very often multiple private companies like us. So we are providing intelligence, we are providing malware analysis. Very often, for example, law enforcement works with us to develop the cryptors for ransomware, so we can restore access to data as well.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And when they take down these organizations, do people really go to jail? Do they get fined, or do they get out of it and just resurface somewhere else?
Depends where you are.
Ah.
If you are in one of the countries that recognize ransomware as a cybercrime,
Right.
then yeah, you go to jail. Or very often they will work with you quietly, so they can discover like expand
turn you
access
around.
to the ecosystem.
But North Korea, right, Russia, they won't.
No, but there is one interesting thing that is happening now, which is doxing. So
Doxing.
effectively, if there is someone out of your reach in a country that doesn't cooperate, you pretty much publish the name, the address, estimated net worth,
Wow.
and you just wait what
and you
happens.
shame them out. You kind of
Yeah.
you dox them. And does that work?
Oh, absolutely.
Amazing.
If nothing, it's so the thing that a lot of people don't realize is like these ransomware, like operators, for example, they work like crazy. Like they are dealing with
Really?
burnout and so on. So anything you can put on top of that, like put them under pressure by other criminals around them. Again, put them under pressure where they have to justify to affiliates like, yeah, they publish my name, but my operations are safe. Affiliates will move to different groups because they don't trust this person anymore.
Wow.
So, like, you are trying to break the trust between all these criminals. That's really what you do. And you can do small operations. It can, like, then take few months of ripples in the whole ecosystem. So I have one really good example.
Please.
So Logbit used to be by far the biggest group.
Logbait.
Logbit.
Never
Yeah.
heard of them. Okay.
That was, we are doing like monthly monitoring of all these groups. This group owned like 30% of the ransomware market.
Wow.
For a really long time. Now, when they took down this group, the law enforcement, the Kronos task force, they actually replaced the site where this group was publishing data about the victims, and they started trolling them, saying, we are going to reveal identity of this person
Wow.
in 4 days. And they had a countdown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unless they
No, not unless
I
they.
see.
It was simply trolling, putting the pressure.
trolling.
Yeah, nobody knew what they know, who they know.
Wow.
So another thing that happened is like all the affiliates that would log onto the portal would get personalized message from law enforcement, telling them like, "Hey, we know who you are. We actually took over this portal that you are trying to use." So that is actually
Unbelievable.
really big improvement, I would say, in operations, because there is like that social engineering aspect that is being used against the threat actors now.
Wow, it's absolutely incredible to me that this is all happening. And has AI helped or hurt the bad actors?
It definitely helps more defenders.
Ah,
Yeah. So I see a lot of, I would call it at this moment science fiction, like assumptions of what cyber criminals are going to do with AI. The reality is very simple. What they have today, it just works.
huh.
They have more victims that they can handle. Do they need more technology if they have like simpler approach that is already as effective as possible? No, they don't. Yeah. So one thing where I definitely see AI is anything to do with language. So I was telling before, like the cultural background helps. For example, Slavic languages, we don't have articles.
Interesting.
Articles in the language for us, we don't understand it. We have nothing similar. So with AI, you can easily fix, like I can read the text and I can say, this is from Slavic speaking writer.
Interesting.
Today it is much harder because they can get just copy editing easily done. So we see a huge spike in business email compromise. So any attack that doesn't really involve any code, that is on the rise for sure.
Wow.
So
And
we
then
see business email compromise is now bigger than ransomware.
and identifying the language they speak helps you do what?
Attribution.
Ah.
So big part of what we do is understanding who they are because they are anonymous. They change the names constantly. They are doing rebranding. They are joining. They are doing mergers, acquisitions of code, for example. So that is one of the things that we can actually use to be able to say these four groups are actually the same group. They are just using like different names.
And I'm going to ask you your opinion here. The motivation, is it purely capital or is it just to cause havoc and chaos? Or is it both?
Oh my God. How much time do we have? It's really imagine this. So the distribution of wealth, going to talk only about Russia.
Okay.
Yeah. The distribution of wealth in Russia
Right.
is the opposite of what everyone expects. The closer to Europe you are, the less money you are going to earn.
Wow.
The highest salary is usually in like all the way in Siberia because that's where you have all the natural resources.
I see.
So when you are closer to Europe, what you are going to see is that you have amazing technical education. Technical education is like top notch. You don't have any opportunities to work in IT. You will start looking at people in the West that are working in these IT departments, and you are going to think they have it so easy. So big part of motivation is the idea of we are redistributing wealth from West to East. And there is also very often the aspect I want to punish these people and these companies
Wow.
because I couldn't have job like this. So we have quite a lot of quotes from ransomware actors where they are like, if I would be born elsewhere, I would be working for Google or one of these big companies. So again, it's not only financial and they can make huge amount of money. It's also like kind of a
Resentment.
revenge and resentment.
Yeah.
Disillusionment.
I never even considered that. I'm an American. I guess I wouldn't.
That's why I'm saying understanding the culture.
Yeah.
Like, so we, for example, at Bitdefender, we have hundreds of security researchers that are in Romania. It's a NATO country. It's
Romania.
part of EU. It's very close to Russia. And just that proximity and just the understanding of all the cultural aspects help us tremendously with understanding what's happening in that
Wow.
region.
And so the other country for known to be is North Korea. Is there similar motivation there?
That is mostly financial.
It's mostly financial.
Yeah.
Right. They're not resentment. They're just trying to make money for their programs,
Exactly.
etc.
So that is, I would say, more like state program, like part of the GDP of country,
right, the
essentially.
GDP. Yeah. So we're here in Orlando at ITNation, Martin, and it's a big event of the year. There's, I don't know, thousands of managed service providers. What's your message to them this week?
Keep up with what the bad actors are doing, because that is big part of my job is education. And we always keep telling it's like the game of cat and mouse. And many people understand it's technology, like they have new technology, we need to keep up. In my experience, it's not about we don't have technology, we just don't know what are we defending against.
Wow.
So, like, we keep talking about ransomware as if it's the same thing. And in reality, we are talking maybe about a 4th-generation playbook.
Jesus.
So, again, like, I see a huge problem when we are building defenses against something that existed in 2017.
Wow.
And we just don't pay enough attention that 2024 is just completely different.
So what's down the road for these bad actors, Martin? What are they doing next? You got to stay ahead of them.
They are rational. So anything that makes sense for their business, anything that either brings more money, more revenue, or makes the job easier or more scalable, they are going to do it.
Wow.
The first one that is going to try it and is successful, all the other ones are going to
Gonna
copy
follow.
the same playbook. So again, one of the things that we do quite frequently is my favorite presentation that I like to do, for example, is what is the playbook in 2024 and how is it different than it was in 2023?
Right.
And in many ways, it's very different than it was in the past.
It's amazing. So what keeps you up at night? What worries you the most about all this landscape?
I don't think about anything.
Good for you. You're able to separate
No,
it.
I would wake up in the middle of the night like every day if I would not
right.
be able to separate it.
Yeah, how does it affect you? I mean, given your background, understanding the motivation of these bad actors, it doesn't creep into your personal life at all.
No.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And just knowing their motivation helps you to determine that playbook on how to beat them. It's a mixture of capital and just a lot of resentment.
So, interestingly, my original educational background is economy. So that's why, for example, I always like to understand the flow of the money. You understand the flow of the money.
Follow
that
the money.
helps follow the money always. That helps you to understand what is going to work, what is not going to work. So again, very often the question is like, are they going to use AI? Yes, but is it going to be like huge revolution for them? No, because it's expensive. They have cheaper ways how to achieve the same goals.
I don't know how I could separate that, Martin. You're just good at it. Just knowing that there's these group out there that want to take companies down. I mean, we've heard of the MGM takedown. We've heard down of Kaseya takedown. There's millions of dollars at stake, and trying to understand their motivation and what they do, it just helps you to try to beat them.
Yeah, but it's also, again, part of the playbook is you compromise the company. One of the first things you are going to do as affiliate is who is this company, what's the revenue, what's the cyber insurance, so they know exactly how much you can pay. Yeah,
They do.
They do. Oh, clearly. So
they research you and figure out how much you can pay.
Oh, absolutely. So
And
the
they target
same,
you.
for example, if you are like, if you are, for example, investing into companies, the same tools that you are using to evaluate for mergers and acquisitions,
Yes.
exactly the same tools are used by these threat actors. So if you try to negotiate with them and you tell them like, oh, sorry, we cannot afford to pay more than 10,000, like they can tell you exactly how much you can pay, how much you have to pay out of the pocket, what's going to be the coverage by cyber insurance and so on.
Wow. And so better practices and staying ahead and staying up on the technology, staying up on great technologies like Bitdefender is the best way to combat this.
So I would say the best thing that you need to realize today, everyone, is ransomware is manual hacking operation. It is like all these attacks are really manual hacking operation.
Wow.
The data encryption, that's just like the last step. They
I
already
see.
own your network. They maybe know about it more than you do.
Wow.
That's the final step. So something that we see with almost all the investigations is these attacks takes between 2 weeks and 2 months. There are tons of alerts that are generated and no one is looking for them.
Wow.
So I would say very often it's about having really good technology that is not going to like overload you with again thousands of alerts every single day. But you also need to have your SOC team. You also need people actually looking at what is happening.
Amazing.
That is one of the biggest mistakes that I see all the time. We do investigation and we are like, there are red flags all over the place. Was anyone looking? No.
Wow.
So,
Has there been anything, Martin, in the last month or so that you've changed your mind on? That you just changed your opinion on, your mind on something?
So interestingly, yes, and it's research that we are working on right now, where we found one threat actor that went. It's a group of them, like very small ransomware, that went the opposite way and decided to use very old technology.
Really?
Yeah, so they go back to VBScript, which was popular like a decade ago.
Yes, yes.
And they are surprisingly successful with it.
Wow.
Because a lot of security solutions never looked into these
Into
legacy
old
technologies.
legacy, yes.
They are attacking old servers. So, for example, MSPs, I'm sure are dealing with hundreds of Windows Server 2003,
Right.
2008.
Right.
This is who they are targeting. So pretty much everything we say about a ransomware ecosystem, there are exceptions to everything. There is someone who's trying to do things differently. So you are constantly seeing this every part of the playbook that almost everyone is following, doing the same things. There is always someone who's trying to do things differently. So for us, it's fascinating to discover someone who's just doing stuff that shouldn't work, using code that is really old, and it is successful.
Man, it's successful. Wow. Yeah, they used to rob banks, right? And so they would have these sophisticated way of going into banks, and some people would just use old methods, and nobody really robs banks anymore. Everything is this way. It's all done through cyber.
So let me close the circle for you,
Yes.
because this is like interesting for me as well. When I was talking about conscription, where you learn logistics operations, so bank robbers like heist,
Right, heist.
it's the same story, because the first professional heist was done by ex-military guy that thought like, I want to use this approach to operations for the crime.
Wow.
So that's how this all started, and we are seeing exactly the same thing in cybercrime.
So Martin, I'm a former MSP. I started in the 90s. I made my exit in 2019. I was working way too hard, not paying attention to myself. I got myself up to 340 pounds. I'm in front of the doctor, and she says, if you don't lose the weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. So I lost about 130 pounds over 6-7 months. People ask me how, and I say discipline. I got focus, willpower. That's how I lost. That's how I keep it off. How does discipline play a role in your life?
So I'm pescatarian. I
Fish.
exercise daily. So yeah, discipline is part of that as well. But talking about like professional life, you need to know what you focus on. It's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to pick interesting parts of your work and focus on that. But at the end, you always need to think, is this going to help my customers? Is this going to make them more secure? Is this going to help us? So again, having that discipline, focusing on what's really impactful instead of just chasing some, I don't want to say marketing numbers, but
Right.
again, so this is why we always go back to education, because we don't want to share bombastic news with you. I don't want to tell you AI will take over the world in the next 6 months. And it's really tough because people want this exciting news. They don't want someone who will tell you, here is realistic prediction of what AI will be in 2025 for the cybercrime, because it doesn't sell the news.
It doesn't. What motivates you?
So my background in IT used to be different than security, And when I started working for Bitdefender, I actually love the fact that we are helping to secure the world. So we are, for example, developing the cryptex for ransomware. So giving you back the access to data without paying for it.
Wow.
Uh, we know how much damage we did to this criminal ecosystem. So it's a bit over 1.6 billion US dollars.
Wow.
And so it's just knowing that we are making the difference, that we are the good guys, that we don't sell, we don't ask for any money for this. It's purely we are trying to help protect people and businesses.
Wow.
So that is a big motivation for me. That's why I love working in this field and for this company. So yeah, that definitely drives me. And again, I have background in different parts of IT,
Right.
where it's not the same motivation as in security. In security, you feel you are making
The
a difference.
difference. Yeah. So given that motivation, how do you measure success?
That's a really good question. And you mean me personally or us as a company?
Both.
So we as a company, a lot of, again, what we do is we are trying to find out if we do this, what is going to happen. We work with law enforcement agencies. We can help to shut down some of these huge operations. We help with almost 40 different operations and takedowns. And then you see, for example, the whole ecosystem is going to change. So that is huge motivation. Again, figuring out, we release the crypto, we don't ask for money, and we see what damages it's going to cause to the cyber criminals. That's big. Seeing cyber criminals talking to each other, blaming each other, like, how could this company develop the crypto? Like, your code was wrong, you had problem with your operations, some unsecure servers or something. We never say how we build it, so they keep guessing. They blame each other. Affiliates are going to say, I spent 2 months working on this account. Who's going to pay me for that work?
Wow.
So just being able to see the chaos on
That's
the
cool.
other side,
Yes.
that's again like huge motivation.
And I'm so glad you don't bring it to your personal life. You're able to sleep well at night with all these
Obvious.
bad actors. Yeah. Martin, thank you so much for your time. Great pleasure talking with you today.
Thanks for having me.
You be well. Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.